cards to see. I have one card. Mr. Volz?
Good morning. For the record, Fred Volz. Reviewing the backgrounds of the two executive director finalists against the job announcement creates several troubling discrepancies. How can an executive director with no subject matter expertise about the arcane field of utility regulation be expected to, quote, direct, mentor, and motivate division personnel? How can someone with public relations experience or low-level management experience at a summer camp for adults and their families be expected to confidently administer complex PUC issues? How will the proposed finalists suddenly master the acronyms and technical terms used in the Commission's work? The exiting executive director repeatedly stated last legislature that the Commission is overworked and understaffed. Who from existing staff will have the time to guide and educate an executive director trainee on all that one needs to know in order to function in the position? How many months of ratepayer subsidized on-the-job training would be necessary to bring a neophyte up to a satisfactory level of job performance? Neither finalist has either NRS or NAC experience. How would either finalist minimally perform the position's duties without any ability to practically apply laws and rules to Commission operations? No one knows except the search committee the number of applicants. Nevertheless, it has come to light that Ms. Taylor and the PUC's general counsel are affiliated with the Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation. Ms. Taylor was its executive director, then a board member. Ms. Tanner still serves as an advisory board member per her 2013 Commission resume and the Foundation's website. Has there been any formal disclosure that they have been professional colleagues for the same entity in the past? Are they personal friends? Did Ms. Tanner promote Ms. Taylor's candidacy or recuse herself from voting for Ms. Taylor's advancement to the finalist category? These are questions worth answering. The chasm between the position's requirements and the two proffered finalists suggests that the search committee re-review any other candidates or that the position be more widely advertised a second time, hopefully generating candidates with germane work and educational backgrounds. To maintain continuity, the Commission Secretary can be appointed acting director while the search process continues once the current executive director departs in early August. Thank you.
Do we have any cards in Las Vegas?
Yes, we have Angel DeFazio.
Hey, Mr. Fazio.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angel DeFazio. It's so very obvious, and I feel bad that Ms. Mullen is the false flag applicant of these two candidates. HR's version of the sacrificial lamb. While neither is really competent to become the ED, out of the two, she has more experience, but she will not be chosen. Let me point out the elephant in the room. Come 2017, we're going to have SB 46 2.0. And Ms. Taylor has juice that the PUC thinks will get it passed this time. So they will accept her obvious lack of education and real-world experience, thinking that her testimony at the legislature will get them votes. Piss poor parameters in this hiring practice. Also, Ms. Taylor's direct association with Ms. Tanner presumably had a behind-the-scenes discussion between these two, so that Ms. Tanner will be there to help her through the position that is clearly over her head. So we will have a mentor mentoring the mentor. Ms. Mullen stated she works for a nonprofit in El Dorado County, California. Strange, there is no record of this nonprofit either with the IRS or listed as a nonprofit business license in El Dorado. It is listed under the Stanford Alumni Association, which in itself is a for-profit entity. Again, no listing with the IRS. So one has to wonder, how can you be a nonprofit under a for-profit entity? At least she has a business degree from the same place as Ms. Jackson, so we can expect the same performance in that regard. Neither have from their public resumes had any legal testimony experience, so just who is going to spoon feed them on how to interpret the administrative NRS NAC to represent the PUC. Since the PUC kept claiming they are so overworked, now the seasoned employees are going to be mentors. Ms. Taylor's degree is in journalism, which is beyond any person's comprehension who has worked in the real world to think she's qualified for what is euphemistically referred to as the PUC's CFO. She is more qualified as a PIO, not CFO. But we shall see if saner heads prevail, or the pie in the sky hopes of passage of SB 46 2.0 at the expense of this position are decided. Thank you.
All right, item 2A is approval of the meeting minutes from June 10th, 2015. Are there any questions or comments on item 2A? I have none.
I have none.
No questions, comments. I move we approve the June 10th, 2015 administrative agenda A04-15 meeting minutes. Second?
Concur.
Okay. Item 3A is the review of resumes of finalists Ms. Taylor and Ms. Mullen. Ms. Jackson?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. The closed session for this item has been withdrawn. We present to you two candidates for the position of Executive Director. They are Ms. Kathleen Taylor and Ms. Stephanie Mullen. Their names are listed on the agenda in random order. They are not ranked. You received a copy of each of their resumes yesterday morning as part of your briefing materials for this agenda meeting. Both candidates are present today, and they are available for questions from the Commission. If you would like to ask any questions based upon their resumes, please ensure that you ask the same question of each candidate. We will bring each candidate into the hearing room individually, beginning with Ms. Taylor. Once the Commission is finished with questions of Ms. Taylor, she will be escorted out of the hearing room and Ms. Mullen will be brought in. Once you have finished with questions of Ms. Mullen will be escorted out of the hearing room, and at that time, you may openly discuss the candidates with one another. Commission action to appoint the Executive Director will be handled in item 3B. Neither candidate will be present, and will be advised by me as to the Commission's decision after the agenda meeting. Do you have any questions about the process? With that, if I could ask Ms. Williamson to bring in Ms. Taylor, please.
Can I make one point of clarification? On the asking the same question, obviously, if you're asking something particular to one person's experience, it wouldn't make sense to ask the same question to the other person. But if you're asking a general question as far as, why
questions off the resume, specific,
yes.
general
questions
like
you want to
what's your
ask to
favorite
both.
color?
Yes,
Yeah.
you want to ask to both candidates. Thank you.
We should probably introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Rebecca Weiger, I'm one of the commissioners,
Lady Birdshaw, one of the estimators.
chairman.
Thank you for joining us today, accepting our invitation to interview for the position of Executive Director. As I'm sure you're aware, this is an extremely important position in the Commission. The Executive Director serves as the administrative head of the agency and is responsible for the day-to-day administrative operations, so that the three commissioners are able to focus on their obligation to address the substantive issues associated with our obligation to regulate public utilities. So I thought we'd just go ahead and move to the questions, and I thought maybe instead of me answering all my questions, I thought we just kind of alternate our questions.
And just, given my short-term nature, I really want you and Dave to, and I'm happy to ask questions to kind of bring out any discussion, but this, I feel kind of weird, you know, being only like 70 days left, but.
I'm not counting.
Yeah, I'm not counting, especially these agendas. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys, but I'm happy to ask questions, so maybe you guys start.
Okay. Well, let me ask the first question then. Please describe your qualifications and why you think you are the best candidate for the position.
Well, as my resume states, I have more than 20 years of public relations, management, and business and public policy experience. I have been on all three sides of an agency like this, on the commission side as a previous planning commissioner, regional planning commissioner. I've also been the executive director of an organization, and I've supported staff in an organization like this with the Department of Transportation and other clients.
Okay. Commissioner Mullen?
That was sort of my first question, so good job. Another question, how do you manage stress in the workplace?
I ran a lot. Actually, I think stress is good in the workplace because it shows that you're concerned about what you're doing and you care. I have a tendency to focus more on myself and look at the problem and maybe do a little bit more research as long as I feel comfortable what's in front of me and knowledgeable of it. That reduces the stress. I work well with my teammates and my colleagues and rely on them sometimes to help me through things. And sometimes you just have to breathe a little bit.
Why don't you describe for us what your management style is?
I would say my management style is to hire the best people and let them do their job. That being said, my responsibility in this position would be to make sure that we're supporting the folks, they have the resources and the training that they need, and to provide them with guidance and leadership, and making sure that they have everything they need to do the job.
What are your expectations of this position?
That's an interesting question. This organization is very appealing to me because from the outside looking in and the research I've done, it's run very well. It's done very well in the last 5 to 10 years. I expect there to be some significant change with the leaving of the commissioner and some of the political changes that we will see in the next few years. But I expect to fulfill the mission and the goals of the Public Utilities Commissions and the people that we serve.
How do you deal with difficult people? And if you want to give an example, and a high level, from a high level, no names or anything.
Right. Well, I've been in several difficult positions, working with the public on very controversial public infrastructure projects, working on a planning commission with 6 other commissioners with very different ideas. And what has gotten me through in the past, which I think is very important, is respect of other folks, listening to what's being said, and not just talking. And then again, keeping your eye on the vision and the mission of what's at hand to accomplish those goals. And I've been through several partnering sessions. Sometimes it needs to be escalated to a different level. I've gotten to that point maybe 1 or 2 times in my whole entire career.
That was my question. Except for I was going to characterize it as egomaniac commissioners. Not us, of course. So this kind of ties back to the chairman's first question, but based on your understanding of the position, what are the attributes and the skill sets that you have that you think will be most useful that you bring to this position?
I would say I am fair, I am knowledgeable, I gain the respect of my colleagues and the people around me. I like to multitask, I'm good at that. I do respect other people. I'm interested in what this agency does and the success of this agency. I've managed budgets, people, organizations, administrative operations for major infrastructure projects, like I said, in divisions, to smaller organizations and nonprofit organizations.
Have you had experience in managing 2 separate office locations? And if so, describe it.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Actually, in my last position at Actors, I was in national positions, so I worked from several different offices, and when I overtook a project on that national level, sometimes there was up to 3 or 4 different offices that I would be responsible for managing marketing teams in. And that was an extremely large organization, so we used a lot of telecommunications and different kind of technology, Skyping and that kind of stuff. But there was always a time when you had to have a face-to-face meeting too. So it's a combination of both and constant communication, just making sure that everybody's on the same page, over communicating, I would say.
That was a really good question. Because I think it's challenging having 2 offices. So I think I wish I had that. I'm trying to think what other questions. Do you have questions for us about what our expectations are? Well, actually, I shouldn't load the question. Do you have questions for us?
I guess I would just like to understand what your expectations are of your new executive director. This is, as I understand it, the second executive director will be coming into this organization. Are there things that you see that you would like to enhance, or
can you fix the ABAC, the air conditioning?
I really wish I could.
I think
I'll try.
Ms. Jackson has been able to do it for the 10 years I've been complaining about it. I think communication with commissioners and just being patient and understanding is probably, we all have different issues at different times, but the executive director is the kind of and I don't want to use this term, but like mother hen of the agency. Crystal's always made sure everything is okay. And you have to constantly communicate. So, and learning an effective communication, particularly remotely, I think that's, that would be my expectation for the next 7 weeks for me. Sorry, I'm rubbing it in.
It is pretty important.
I guess I would probably echo what Rebecca said. Crystal was always able to just kind of problem solve with a very common sense approach. But I think that it's served the embassy pretty well. She has kind of, and her duties have been primarily administrative, and I think that's one of the strengths of the executive director position is she's really focused on the administrative stuff and kind of make sure that things are running properly. I think we're one of the best run agencies in the state of Nevada. I remember our general counsel telling me before Lina that when she worked with the Attorney General's office, it took like 3 or 4 months to get reimbursement from the travel expenses. That's just kind of a general contract. Yeah. So I think that things are just always kind of like on time, getting done. I think that's what's important to me, is that we've got things that are getting done on a timely basis.
I don't have anything to add.
I just have one more question though. You talked about in your resume about the inbound experience you had. Can you kind of describe to me what you did in that experience?
Sure. When I was 17, I started at the Nevada Department of Transportation as a construction aide, and I moved up through the different divisions in planning, which was on a lot of corridor studies and public information meetings and more general transportation projects, not actually a project yet, but more of a study. Then I moved into the design side of things, where we actually started designing the project, and I worked in safety engineering and roadway design. And I worked there over 7 years, started in their engineering training program, and decided that what I really enjoyed about my job was the public involvement in the public process in those projects, and not necessarily the engineering aspect. So that was when MDOT was first coming in before the bypass. We were very involved in the legislature and trying to get that through. And that was one of my main responsibilities as I moved out of that position, was helping, I guess, create positive feedback for that project and moving it through the legislature and with the community meetings. And that I also budgeted, I worked with the designer to manage the budget of multi-million-dollar projects through estimates and work on the design side of things through the engineering, which wasn't always fun. Right, but so I worked with several different divisions, a couple different directors.
One last question for me. Can you tell me about your budgeting experience that you've had?
Again, it started probably in that when we were responsible for coming within 7% of engineers' estimates. So an engineer would come with an estimate, we'd have to go through and track and make sure that all the quantities and the estimates matched using several different funding sources, whether it was federal, state, matching funds, and then allocating those funds. Moving into, I would say, the executive director position at Angel Kiss Foundation, I came from a budget of negative and was responsible for making sure that that budget ran in the positive, because if we didn't get our financing through federal grants, state and local grants, fundraisers, and donations, then we wouldn't get the help of people that we had. And then there was a very strict process for managing those funds and reporting those funds and what they could be used for. Specifically, when you were filling out your annual reports, you can only use certain dollars for certain things, whether they're marketing, operational, client services. And then moving into more recent projects, I managed multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects on the marketing side and community outreach side through the procurement of that. So that's more in-house funds, and then working with our clients. There are a lot of public funds that you have to be able to document. And again, you can do certain things with them and you can't. So.
Great, thank you. No questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner, do you notice the air is on? Thank you. Thank you. Until I get cold. The fan blowing right in my head. So, hi, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Rebecca Wagner, Commissioner.
I'm Burton Shaw.
Nice to meet you.
So, good morning, and thank you for joining us today and accepting our invitation to interview for the position of Executive Director. As I'm sure you're aware, this is an extremely important position for the Commission, and the Executive Director serves as the administrative head of the agency and is responsible for the day-to-day administrative operations so that the three commissioners are able to focus on their obligation to address the substantive issues associated with the PUC's regulation of public utilities in the state. With that said, we thought we'd just kind of alternate our questions. And I started off last time, so let me ask this question. Please describe your qualifications and why you think you are the best candidate for the position.
Okay. I have over 15 years working in human resources in accounting in very diverse industries. During that time, the last 15 years, I've really been able to develop my communication skills and my leadership skills. I believe that those experiences that I have helped shape me and develop me into who I am today, and I think that is why I am an ideal candidate for this position.
How do you manage stress in the workplace?
I think I am an emotional leader. I talked about this, I believe, in my interview. I like to lead by example, and when things get stressful, I maintain a calm and cool attitude. And I think that that instills confidence in my staff and those that I'm working around. And so that's how I lead, and that's how I handle stress. Oftentimes I may need to walk outside and get a breath of fresh air and take a step back, and then tackle the situation at hand.
I'm having trouble reading my notes here. Can you describe your management style?
My management style, just as I touched on a second ago, is very hands-on. In my position as administrative manager at Stanford Cedar King Up and Conference Center, when I started, I was jumping in and filling big shoes. Previous administrative manager had been there for 15 years. And so I felt that in order to do my job well, I would really need to understand the roles of everyone that I'd be working with and who would be reporting to me. So I started on a Saturday cleaning bathrooms, making beds with housekeeping staff. I worked in the kitchen, I did food orders. So I, again, really try to lead by example. And I think that it's very important to get a really good understanding of what your coworkers and employees are up against on a day-to-day basis, and then go from there.
What are your expectations of this position?
I expect this to be a challenging position. I think this is going to be a very rewarding position for me. I think that it's going to really challenge the skills that I have and build upon them. I think that it's going to push me and excite me every single day because of the new experiences that I will have.
How do you deal with difficult people? And you can give an example, but if you do, just keep it high level, with no names.
Sure. Well, I don't necessarily think that there are difficult people as much as different personalities and diverse personalities. I think that it's important to understand where they're coming from and try to relate as best as possible, put myself in their shoes as best as I can, and then tackle the situation as best as you're able to under the situation. I think that if you're looking ahead at what the common goal is, you can meet that as long as there is open communication and understanding.
So based on your understanding of this position, what specific attributes and skill sets that do you have that you would bring that you think would be useful for the position?
I think my communication skills will be very helpful in this role. My budgeting skills and my analytical eye when looking at budgets, I think will be very important to this role. Sometimes another set of eyes is good, and I know Crystal has been in this role for a very long time and done a fantastic job, and I understand that there are big shoes to fill. But I believe that my experience and the companies I've worked for in the past have created a broad set of skills.
Have you had experience in managing 2 separate office locations?
I have, yes, I have. Currently, as administrative manager for Stanford Camp, we have the Alpine Stanford Chalet located in Tahoe City, which is a 14-bedroom bed and breakfast. Also, while working as the operations director for Pasha Park Housing, I oversaw 3 other locations. San Diego, we had staff of 150 and about 300 properties. We had 10 properties in Dallas and 10 properties in Austin. And so I oversaw the teams in all of those locations and was able to communicate effectively to get the job done.
So, do you have questions for us?
I don't have any questions for you at this time. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity and to be here in front of all of you. Thank you.
Let me ask you one question as well. You had referred to your budgeting experience in one of your questions, so would you kind of detail your budgeting experience?
Yes. So I work directly with our COO at Stanford here and with the Alumni Association at Stanford University. The process, my director typically handles more his line items. I handle all of our insurance for camp, property liability, workers' comp. I handle all of our benefits, the salary line items. In addition, I handle all of our capital projects on an annual basis. So I am responsible for those areas solely, and then I work hand in hand with Dave. Upon getting the job and learning and trying to understand the insurance side of the company, I was doing a little research and digging and trying to gain more understanding. And in doing so, we ended up switching insurance companies from the broker that we used to a new broker and saved $250,000 and have consistently saved that amount since annually. And so I just look at it with a fresh set of eyes. Oftentimes Dave will have me review his items and find holes, being able to work the finances around in such a way to meet our goals as a company. Okay.
That's all we have.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jackson, this is when we have our discussion.
Yeah, you guys can now go ahead and discuss the two candidates, and then when you're ready, move on to 3B for appointment.
I thought they were both great. They have I was happy to hear they have the kind of budgets as they described. Budgets that you are significant in your position. They seem to have quite a bit of experience associated with dealing with personnel issues, which is a big deal. We've never done this before, so.
Yeah, I think they both come in with a lot of experience in dealing with different entities. Overall, I think they're fairly close. Kathleen may have a little bit more just experience from a time perspective, but I think Stephanie has also, given her time, has made the most of it. I think either one of them would do very well, struggle with which one to go with, but I have put it out there, my recommendation would be Stephanie Mullen.
Well, and I don't really want to weigh in, but just trying to offer a perspective of watching this position evolve over time. I think they both bring great attributes, and I like, just based on this and their resumes, I think they can come in and be able to start filling the shoes, those giant shoes or sandals of Miss Jackson's. So I don't think you guys can go wrong either way, but I still feel strongly that it needs to be you guys on board, and I don't particularly want to break a tie, but I'm for once deferring and have no desire to dissent. I'm like a utility agenda, so I'll defer and hear what you have to say, Chairman.
Well, I agree with you. I think we would be fine with either one. And I actually, one of the things that I always thought was a strength for Ms. Jackson is that she wasn't getting involved in the staff building. There's a lot to do with administrative stuff. I actually don't want an executive director who's going to be telling Anne-Marie how to do her job. Because Anne-Marie is the DRO, the executive director is basically running the administrative portions of the agency, and so to me that's a strength. I'm not sure we can find an executive director that has more experience than Anne-Marie, So I think that those separations and that understanding, I think, is one of the strengths of this industry. I agree with Rebecca, and I think that it needs to be a coordinated effort on this. So I would support Commissioner Mullen's decision, or his recommendation.
And of course, I concur. I think they both have strengths and attributes that would do great. I think Ms. Mullen, I think she'll have a good fit, and if you guys are on board with that, I think, like I said, I don't think we go wrong either way. And you better be nice to them. Can't imagine coming into this job right now, so.
Amen.
And I will contact each one of them after the agenda and advise them of the decision. Do we need to do 3B for formal action?
Yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and move to 3B. And I would move that we appoint Stephanie Mullen as the next executive director.
And just as Captain Shuey, and if Ms. Mullen does not accept, we extend the offer to Ms. Taylor, because I don't want to have to come back and do this again.
No, that's actually excellent point. So let me amend the motion. I would move that we appoint Stephanie Mullen as executive director, and if she does not accept the position, offer the position to Ms. Taylor.
Second.
Concur.
Okay, items 3C, reports from commission representatives of national, state, or regional associations and organizations, or neighbor committee or subcommittee members' participation and activities.
Thank you, Chairman. The written briefings have been included as part of your briefing material packet. I believe we also have a couple of verbal briefings, Mr. Lamoho, I believe, and also Ms. Williamson. So you guys want to come up and give your verbal briefing?
Okay, during the reporting period, I attended the NAREP winter meetings in February. At that time, Chairperson Shaw became the chair of the Water Committee, and I became the chair of the Staff Subcommittee on Water. So I've been assisting with putting together the agendas of the Water Committee. We've been trying to focus on broad national issues, but bring a little bit more focus to Western issues as well, especially drought issues. So there's been some good discussion on that, as well as water conservation issues, redesign issues. I have also attended the gas pipeline safety subcommittee meetings. A lot of discussion on the reauthorization of the Pipeline Safety Act and the state's priorities in that process.
And I'm on the NERC Natural Gas Subcommittee. We do weekly or bi-weekly conference calls just to kind of catch up what's going on in the gas world. 111D, the Clean Power Plan, is still high on everyone's agenda. We actually just got the LNG quarterly wrap-up earlier this month, and the one interesting story I wanted to share with you guys is that EPA came out with a report, EPA's assessment of the potential impacts of fracturing for oil and gas and drinking water resources. EPA did not find any evidence that fracking mechanisms have led to widespread systemic impacts on drinking water resources in the United States. So, something easier. And that's, I can circulate the LNG wrap if you guys want. Otherwise, it's mostly pricing issues worldwide, what natural gas prices are looking at worldwide. So, unless there are questions, that's all I have to report from that subcommittee.
Gas prices looking at worldwide.
Low. I have actual numbers in here. If you have interest, I'll forward this to you. Okay, sounds good. Any questions? Okay.
And I believe that concludes the briefings from staff.
I only have Western Conference Public Service Commissioners. As you're aware, Nevada will be hosting it next May. So to the extent that you have ideas for panels or want to chair a panel, please let me know.
Oh, I have ideas.
Oh, I know you.
And I don't really have an update because I have really disassociated with traveling for a new route. So I don't have much to add. I think Commissioner Noble, you've taken over my position on the electricity committee and the
Subcommittee on
nuclear issues. Ms. Cuneo covers Regis. So I don't really have anything to add, but I will reach out to those of you who have talked to me about finding out what these roles are, so that we can have someone follow along.
Can you, before you leave, provide a cheat sheet?
I will.
Sort of a final summary
Yeah.
of where things are at.
You bet.
I don't really have anything to add from what Dawn provided, other than thank goodness for Dawn, because he helped me a lot putting those panels together. We actually had a drought panel where a gentleman from the Western Veterans Association came to talk about some general issues across the West, and it was very informative. And I did not realize doing water for years, I had no idea that California does not regulate groundwater. Just astonishes me, but one more ways I think in Nevada is paying attention to things that I think they really important. So, but it's been an interesting discussion point that Travis
And will continue to be.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move to item 3B.
Thank you, Chairman. The last item I have forever is the administrative fines report by docket as of June 30th, 2015. And it's included in your briefing materials and available if you have questions.
Any questions?
No questions.
I have one comment. I know these are available at any time and we wanted to look at them. I don't know if it's really necessary to have these on administrative agenda, so I'll probably be recommending that the executive director bring it up at the next administrative agenda to eliminate this item on a going forward basis, but then we can discuss it at that point.
Okay.
All right. And item 3E.
Nothing further, Chairman.
All righty. Item 4A is time for public comment. So I do have one card for Mr. Bowles.
For the record, again, Fred Volz. NRS 353C.220's parameters deserve attention. This statute designates the state controller as the collection agent for state agencies. It requires state agencies to assign debts that are more than 60 days past due to the state controller under Section 3. Some of these past due fines of the PUC have been left to fester for almost 2 years instead of the 60-day requirement. Many more have been ignored for months past the deadline. So the first issue is consistently forwarding the uncollected fines not later than 60 days after the debt becomes past due. The second and larger issue, what steps are PUC employees taking to collect the debt rather than pass the problem along to another state agency? Sending 1 or 2 letters to hardcore deadbeats will not yield results. The same statute in Section 5A allows an agency to waive assignment to the state controller if the agency has the resources to engage in its own debt collection efforts. With almost $3 million of reserves, the PUC indisputably has the resources to hire a collection agency and recover the money for the state's general fund. The longer the delay in implementing serious collection efforts means a materially lower probability that collection efforts will be successful. It leads to the question, why isn't the PUC administration making a concerted good faith effort to timely collect monies owed the state treasury before frequently passing a problem accounts along to the state controller's office far beyond the statutory time frame? And on a second unrelated administrative subject, why are filings for individual dockets not consistently listed in ascending or descending date order on the PUC's website? This lack of orderly information presentation wastes time for everybody who is using the information. Thank you.
Anyone in Las Vegas?
Angel DeFazio.
Okay, Mr. Fazio?
Angel DeFazio for the record. When will we know if the position was accepted by Ms. Mullen? I got to give you credit, Commissioners. You chose the non-connected person. Apparently, saner heads prevailed. Is the PUC paying for her living expenses or temporary housing? Given Ms. Jackson's last day is the 14th and Ms. Mullen should, as a professional courtesy, give a 2-week notice, if given today, will give her 7 business days to be acclimated. Who is going to help her slide into this position when Ms. Jackson leaves? Thank you.
We're adjourned.